Right, can I start with a bit of a confession? I'm struggling a bit today, and I just want to talk to you about it because I'm a little conflicted in what we do and how we're feeling about things. I'm talking about the bin strikes. Today is the first anniversary of the Birmingham bin strikes. Happy anniversary. It's a year. It's a year. Now, I've only been here. So I started back end of April last year. So I've almost been on air here with you, which I'm really enjoying, for almost a year. And on my first show, we talked about the Birmingham bin strikes and we talked about the reputation of the city and how you have this global city, Birmingham, kind of world famous, but yet all the conversation is about the fact that the council is unable to operate a proper bin collection service. And we talked about the impact on global reputations, the impact on you and me, the people who live here. And it blows my mind that here we are a year later still having the same conversations. And what I want to know from you, I think, today is how are you feeling about it? Because let me tell you my two schools of thought here. There's one school of thought that goes, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't care. I'm bored. I'm bored of saying the same things. I'm bored of having the same conversations. I'm bored of turning up here and talking to you about bins. I genuinely am. And I'm sure you might be feeling that too. Why are we still having the same conversations? Why has it not moved on? But then the other school of thought is, well, if we don't talk about it, who else does? The national media seems to have moved on. Yeah, things are not as bad as they used to be, but we still have a problem. Part of our role here and our job here is to hold people to account, which is why we do the hot seats, why we have John Cotton here, why we talk to the leader of Unite to get their stories, to let you know what's happening. That's our job, really. Yes, it's to entertain and have some fun, but it's to kind of go, this isn't good enough. And we hold feet to the flames and say, we need better, we deserve better. So it's partly incumbent on us, I think, and you, to keep asking the questions and to keep having the conversations. Otherwise, if we don't, where does the pressure come from? So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it, really. And I want to know how you're feeling about it. Do you want to keep talking about it, or do we just turn a blind eye and pretend it isn't happening? And also, how bad is it? Because we know it kind of reached a horrendous part 6 months or so ago where we saw the rubbish piling up in the streets, and that's when we saw the big headlines, rats as big as cats. Things have calmed down since then. There is a service. A lot of people think it's a better service than it ever has been. So is that enough? I mean, the recycling, obviously, we've talked about. That hasn't been collected for over a year. That is a problem. But we're not seeing it on the streets. So should we turn our attentions to different things and just let this play out? The other thing that's on my mind with this is we've got the elections in May. And I kind of thought that would be a line in the sand. And I kind of thought, well, actually, people will want this sorted. The government would want this sorted before May, because when it comes to going to the polls to vote for the council you want to represent us, where we live here, well, the bin strike's a big part of that. So if you were in the government, wouldn't you be going, guys, we need to sort this out, because if we're not careful, people will vote. People will make their feelings known at the ballot box. So actually, we've got an opportunity to get this sorted pre-May, and then things may go our way. But that doesn't seem to be happening, and we don't really know, if anything, what is happening, because talks seem to have stalled. Both sides are saying they're prepared to talk, but as far as we know, no one is talking. Doesn't that blow your mind? No. What else is more important than basic public services where we live? Right, I've banged on enough. Maybe I've banged on too much. How are you feeling about it? Are you bothered? Are you angry? Are you concerned? Maybe you couldn't care less and you think we should all move on. And happy anniversary. I'm not sure it's something that we should be celebrating, but it is 1 year today since the all-out bin strike started in Birmingham.
Bin workers in Birmingham are starting an all-out strike today.
Call it what you want.
that this is about fairness, dignity and respect at work.
I think it's important that everyone's paid fairly, which is why we're resetting the entire pay and grading model.
At the Tyseley depot this morning, you might be able to hear some of the drums in the background on the picket line.
We'd rather actually be out there doing the work, and sadly the powers that be made it so we're out here striking.
It's taking up a good half of the pavement already, and of course riding along right next to it, the smell's even worse.
So this morning, the gates to the site were locked, meaning no lorries were able to get out on their morning rounds.
And I utterly condemn the actions of some of those on the picket lines that is obstructing the highway, stopping our trucks leaving.
Alarmingly, we're hearing of rats the size of cats in Britain's second city.
I'm actually going up and down the street now with a couple of other people, picking other people's bin bags up. We shouldn't be doing this, but obviously we've got to do it to keep the streets clean and keep the vermin off the streets.
Mega picket is pretty accurate, actually. The sun's out, like you've been saying, but these workers are feeling anything but bright this morning.
We're here to send a loud message that we've got their back, we support them, and we stand in solidarity with the cause that they're on.
It's 6 months today since the start of the all-out bin strike in Birmingham.
Are we at the stage now where we're thinking about it's a bit like the miners' strike?
Yes, we could well be looking at this dispute lasting a year, which would put it way up there as one of the longest running disputes ever.
I've got to turn to family, friends. Imagine how degrading that is. You're having to go cap in hand where you've never done that before.
So many people with recycling, it's getting ridiculous. It's all going into the same bin. It's just a wasteful cause, isn't it?
Are you confident it can be solved within the year?
Certainly want to see this brought to a close as soon as possible.
When would you like it to be done by?
Look, if we could fix this tomorrow, I'd happily have it fixed tomorrow. What we know is that it has gone on too long. I'm not going to put a time frame or a date line on this. I think that would be an irresponsible thing to do. But absolutely, we're committed to trying to find a final resolution to this.
That's the story of the Birmingham bin strikes in 2 minutes for you. Ed, I'm 100% with you. I'm sick of hearing about the bins now. I think we might need to turn our attention to flags. We're going to go from bins to flags. Thank you, Dave in Rubery. He says nobody wants to sort it out. We're working with two petulant groups. What do you mean, happy anniversary, Ed? What's happy about it, says Val on the text. How are you feeling about the old Birmingham bin strikes? 81333 on the text. Start your message, WM. So, what do we know here a year into these strikes? The two sides seem further apart than ever. I think we all thought when they started this would be done fairly quickly, but we're a year in and there doesn't seem to be any resolution. 2 weeks ago, I spoke to One Kassab. He's the national officer with Unite, the union representing the bin workers. Now, he told me the council isn't interested in negotiation. Have a listen.
We will sit down and talk with the council anytime, any place, anywhere. Just name the date, name the place. We will turn up and we will negotiate. We're not just going to turn up and bang the table. We want a resolution. So we are prepared to negotiate. All we're asking for is the council to name the date and we'll be there.
So the council have said, and I'm quoting here, we have invited Unite on multiple occasions to make a proposal to end the strike, which we would fully and carefully consider, but they have declined to do so thus far. Are they lying?
Well, what they're doing is they're trying to be clever. That's not negotiation. What they want us to do is effectively put a proposal to them before we're even in a negotiating room. So that's not how you negotiate. You agree a date, you sit down and you negotiate. What they're not doing in that quote is agreeing to meet at any point and sit down and discuss and negotiate. So they're attempting to be clever, but it's not really that clever. We're saying name the date and we'll sit down and meet, and they are refusing to do so.
And who do you want to meet with?
As long as it's somebody who can make a decision. And that's important because in the ACAS, and ACAS are the arbitration service, in the meetings that we had last year, it was clear that the people in the room from the council were not able to make the decisions on the day. So we will meet with anybody as long as they are the people who can make the decisions in those negotiations. Our decision makers will be there. All we ask is that the council turn up with their decision makers as well.
So that is the national officer with Unite, Onay Kassab, the union representing the bin workers, basically saying the council isn't interested in negotiation. Now, last week, we do the hot seats as often as we can, really. John Cotton, the leader of Birmingham City Council, was here in this studio talking to you, answering your questions. And he told me the council is willing to get back around the table.
Look, as I've said, Ed, I'm very happy for us to get back in the room.
Are you?
Have those discussions. Yeah, absolutely. But
because we were led to believe the council is not prepared to do that, and what you want is Unite to put forward a proposal.
Well, what they need to do is be very clear around the proposals they're putting forward and not proposals that would reopen that equal pay liability.
But why don't you just sit round a table and talk about it?
The door is open to us doing that, but what we cannot...
Is the door, but when can we sort that then? Because there's a lot of people in Birmingham who just want to see an end to this. And I think if we knew that you were both going to sit down, the key decision makers, in a room and get to a resolution for our city, I think there'll be a lot of people happy about that.
Absolutely, and no one would be happier than me as the leader of the council.
So you're prepared to do that in a room and have a discussion?
But it has to, as I keep coming back to the point, it has to be on the basis of let's discuss some realistic ways to settle this.
So you're not prepared just to sit down and talk?
If it is simply a repeat of the demands that were previously made that would just create further equal pay challenges for this council, we cannot be in that position. But, absolutely, if there's a way forward that we can find to bring this to a negotiated settlement, let's make that happen.
What would be acceptable to you and the council?
Well, look, I'm not going into the details of what might happen in any discussion around that. I know you do, Ed. So do I. But I think doing a negotiation live over the air probably isn't the most sensible way to settle a dispute. But look, I want to find a resolution to this, but I also have a duty to ensure we do not repeat the mistakes of the past and we don't further sink this council around the equals pay debt spiral again. We've done a lot of work over the last couple of years to turn that around and address that and finally bring that to a close. That has to be the starting point.
Can you offer Unite anything new today? What can you say to them to try and move this on just one step?
Well, look, as I said, the door is open to further discussion, but please, I also need Unite to understand that we cannot repeat the mistakes of the past and create a further equal pay liability. If there's an acceptance around that, I think there's an opportunity to find a way forward.
It's like a marriage breakdown, isn't it? It's like a marriage that's broken down and the two parties have gone to a counsellor and they're both blaming the other. And I don't know, we're stuck here in the middle of it. I don't know about you, I fail to see how this will get sorted because both sides are accusing the other of various things and we are in the middle of it, not really knowing who to believe. Right, how do you feel about the Birmingham bin strikes? Happy anniversary, it's a year today. Ed, just get Donald Trump in, he'll sort out the mess, says Trevor. Can you imagine? I mean, there's part of me that thinks he would, but I'm not sure how, or if it, with the right way of doing it, would have ICE agents on the streets. Thank you, Trevor. Ed, one of them is lying. I'm sick to death of hearing equal pay being spouted every time he speaks, in reference to John Cotton, leader of Birmingham City Council, says Susan. Really interesting. I had a chat with my son about this, who said, Dad, what's actually happening with the Birmingham bin strikes? And I tried to explain it to him, and it's a complicated thing, but with the equal pay thing, the council is saying they don't want to reopen the equal pay claim, so they can't pay the bin workers what the bin workers want. The union are going, they've had legal information from a King's Council that says actually it wouldn't impact on equal pay at all. The council have then come back and said, well, that's not our advice from our King's Council. Unite have said, well, we'll publish ours and we're happy to do that. The council has said we can't publish ours because it's legally privileged. So again, even on a basic legal point, there are total opposite ends of this. 81333, start your message, WM. Takir is on the phone from Borsall Heath. Takir, good morning.
Morning, Ed. How are you?
Happy anniversary, Takir.
Yeah, I spoke to you this time last year.
So, where do you stand on this? Can you believe here we are, a year down the line?
I stand right in the middle of the rubbish.
I think we all do, Takir. So how bad is it where you are in Borsall Heath?
So I live Borsall Heath, Moseley, that sort of way. I think the problem you've got now, there's still a lot of mess about. You do get the bin men coming round, but I mean, I don't understand what the way they do it is one lorry comes around first. This is weekly, this is not daily. And it just picks black bags up. So any black bags it sees on the streets or whatever, they'll pick that up and then they'll go. Then another lorry will come around to empty the bins. So surely that's cost a lot more money to do that. Getting two lots of workers to do the same job when you could do it in the first run. And secondly, I think the people are frustrated. They don't know if the bin men are going to come or not on time because they're not coming on the allocated days they're supposed to come.
Are they not?
No. It's random days, so you have to keep your bins out all week, just on the wind that they might come and pick it up today. People are still dumping rubbish at the ends of every road, and not just rubbish. You've got fridges, you've got sofas, you've got all this crap coming. And inner city Birmingham, it's looking horrible, to be honest with you. And considering we're the second city, somebody that's coming into our city sees all the rubbish, they might just get scared and leave.
And that's the thing. I mean, just in this past week, we've had, obviously, the Peaky Blinders global premiere here in Brum. 2 million people will see our city either at the movies or on Netflix. Stephen Knight is doing an incredible job. You've got exciting things. There's HS2 that we're talking about as well. There's the Invictus Games that's coming. There's the athletics. There's some really good stuff and some really positive stuff. But it's been undone, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of things happening in Birmingham in the positive way. So these bin strikes don't help, and I don't think it's going to help the Labour Council. I mean, obviously, the elections are coming up for local councillors, and I think Labour's not going to stand a chance in these big Labour areas now where there's a lot of mess. They're not doing nothing about it. So I don't think Labour's going to stand a chance, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Birmingham City Council really needs to get into gear and really needs to sort the problem out. And for it to be going on a whole year and not have a resolution on it, I mean, there's clearly a big problem somewhere, and somebody needs to grab the bull by the horns.
And how are you feeling about it as a resident of Brum?
I mean, I try and help out as much as I can, especially the elder ones. I'll take my rubbish to the tip, or my parents' rubbish to the tip, and some neighbours that can't get out, can't keep moving the bins in and out. I'll say, look, just give it to me and I'll take the rubbish to the tip. So I try and keep our road or whatnot tidy, but I can't do the whole area. It's not a one-man show. But I try and keep positive about it. And if I do see mess, I do tell the neighbours, please don't dump it there. Please don't do this. There's a tip that's open till 9 o'clock in the evening. And you can ring the council to come and pick the rubbish up, but just don't dump at the end of every road because you just attract rats and all the rest of it then.
Are you hopeful we'll find a resolution soon?
I think there's got to be. There has to be. It's not going to go on like this for years and years and years. I mean,
we said that's a year ago, though.
Yeah. There has to be. I think somebody really needs to go in and kick somebody's ass in the council and get something sorted.
All right, listen, great to talk to you. Continue your fantastic work helping to keep the city cleaner. Thank you to Keir in Borsall Heath. And happy anniversary, a year since the all-out Birmingham bin strikes. Just getting your views on it. How are you feeling about it? I mentioned earlier on, I'm in two minds, really. I like to think of myself as a glass half full person. I'm passionate about Brum and the West Midlands and the region, and I'm optimistic for the future. And I like to think that we've got something very special here. We've got fantastic people, in fact, the best people and the best institutions. We've got a lot to be proud of. We've talked about Peaky Blinders. Invictus Games is coming. Athletics is coming again. We do. And obviously, the Com Games as well. When we put our minds to it, we absolutely sit proudly on the world stage, as we should. But yet we keep coming back to this conversation about bins. Blooming bins. It's so basic, isn't it? It's so basic that we throw away our rubbish and we just expect it to be taken away, because that's the fundamentals of a modern city, isn't it? Shouldn't it be? But yeah, here we are. Still no answer. There's a service of sorts. Some people think it's a better service, but the recycling isn't being done and there's still industrial action ongoing in our city. And then the headlines across the world feed back into a narrative that that's what people think of us. And if you live here and if you're proud of here and if you love it here, does that make you angry? Or are you just bored of hearing about it and you want everyone to move on? I would understand that too. 81333, start your message, WM. Hello to Izzy from Great Barb on her way to Cheltenham. Oh, good luck. Hope you get some winners. Ed, regarding the bin strikes, whether it be the council or Unite the Union, neither party could negotiate themselves out of a paper bag. It's a massive problem on a big scale. Even our politicians, the government, world leaders, the art of negotiation seems to be lost. Maybe you could get both parties together in a question time type arena with members of the public invited to thrash this thing out. People are getting fed up with this blight on our great city. Izzy, great comment. We had John Cotton in the hot seat a week ago, and I kind of tried to start that process. I was promptly shut down. He's like, I'm not going to have a negotiation live on the radio. But at least it would be a negotiation, because there doesn't seem to be one. 81333 for your view. Love to just know how you're feeling about it. Tell me your thoughts. Angry, frustrated, or do you want to move on? 81333 WM to start your message. Let's speak to an expert who can help, hopefully, shed some light on this. Dr. Roger Seifert, Emeritus Professor of Industrial Relations at the University of Wolverhampton. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Nice to speak to you again. What can we do? Is there any way to end this when the two sides seemed so entrenched?
No, I don't think so. I think everyone knows that both sides are stuck and are waiting for something else to happen. But as your other listeners are saying, and as I'm sure a lot of people think, it's a disaster for the city. Reputational damage is severe. And it really says a lot about the council more than the union, because the council were the people who made the first decision to restructure wage and salary systems and knew at the time that there would be significant cuts to some workers' wages. And they must have known that no union can accept that and that Unite would go on strike. So it's very sad. And right at the beginning, where most strikes are sorted early, if you miss that chance, you're stuck. And early on, they came very close to a agreement. But unfortunately, as you may remember, the government, a Labour government, were very unhelpful. So as other people are saying, you've got a Labour council in a city with a Labour mayor at a time of a Labour government, and they're fighting with a Labour-affiliated trade union, Unite, and people are scratching their heads and saying, what is the point of all of this if these sides can't get together? If they can't get together, then who on earth can? So we're stuck, and the only way forward I can see now is the May elections. Either Labour will return with a new mandate, in which case I think they will just sack the remaining workers, or there'll be a change or a hung council, in which case I think they will seek some sort of negotiated deal, but it's pretty grim.
So on that point, can they just sack the workers? What would happen if they did?
Well, what will happen is they would lose a court case, but they'll just pay the money rather than keep the strike going. And of course, Unite would take further action. But, the status quo, staying as you are, and as people have pointed out, a complete failure to negotiate a settlement, which doesn't look like it will ever be negotiated, means that you either carry on for another year, which would be appalling, or one side or the other has to do something. And it's only the employer who has the power to make the changes. All the union can do, and Unite is a union that fiercely defends jobs. That's the General Secretary, Sharon Graham's major position, is defend jobs at all costs. So they will be stuck. They will not change. And it's up to the employer, the council, the elected officials to make the move. And either they have to make a concession and get a settlement, or, as I said, they probably wait to the elections in May. And if they get re-elected, they'll see that as a mandate to take more drastic action against the workforce.
So you think either way, May's a bit of a line in the sand and we'll see some changes after May?
I think you'll have to, because if the political complexion of the council changes, they'll feel that they can't possibly live with this sort of dispute rumbling on. And if it remains the same, as I said, Labour will see themselves as mandated to actually destroy what's left of the workforce and the credibility that goes with it. So it's very serious. It's very bad for Birmingham, as you say. And we have to be clear that the argument about equal pay and so on the Council of Woods is just not a runner, because Coventry, other councils in the West Midlands and throughout the land have had equal issues, but they've negotiated a settlement. So it's only Birmingham that has failed to come to terms with the equal pay issue and failed to negotiate a settlement. So that's pretty shocking.
Sorry, so just to be clear on that point then, you're suggesting equal pay is not the issue that the leader of the council told me it was when he was here a week ago?
Well, they've been saying that on and off for about 10 years, and they didn't deal with it in the past, and they haven't dealt with it now. And what you have to ask him next time, how come Coventry, which also had these problems, settled? How come they got around the same law that the Birmingham Council have failed to get around? And that's really the issue. Same union, same workforce, same law. And yet other councils have managed to negotiate settlements which are within the law, and Birmingham have failed. So I think Birmingham are just using his excuse for the mistake they made very early on, which they went in too hard, too fast, and should have consulted with the union much earlier. And now they're just hiding behind the law on this. And it's not good enough for the people of Birmingham. It really isn't. Why should they be in this when the people of Coventry are having their bins collected?
On that point, actually, and lastly, where do you see public support on this? Is it on one side more than the other, or do you think everyone is just bored of it and wants a resolution now?
Well, I think people want a resolution, but overwhelmingly, the evidence is that people support the workforce. This is not a dispute where workers have said, I want more money, where people sometimes feel that's not appropriate. This is simply one saying, I don't want a massive pay cut, and I don't want to lose my job. And I think people are very sympathetic at the moment to workers who seek to defend their terms and conditions and their jobs. So overwhelmingly, the sympathy is for the workforce. But also, that doesn't mean that people aren't also fed up and want a resolution.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Dr. Roger Seifert, Emeritus Professor of Industrial Relations at the University of Wolverhampton. Interesting take on it, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it too, as we have been getting all morning. It's a year on since the Birmingham bin strikes, the all-out Birmingham bin strikes. 81333 to get your opinion on the radio. Start your message, WM. And I think the equal pay thing's an interesting one, and you heard the professor there explain it. I still don't think I completely understand it, but from what I understand, you've got Unite the Union saying actually a settlement would not impact any equal pay. The council are saying it would, and both sides are saying they've got legal evidence that it would. But the professor there saying, well, they have the same situation in Coventry and they reached a settlement without it impacting